Using a specialized drilling attachment, we will cut holes in the tops of the plastic lids and have a place to put our baskets for growing plants.
Okay, here we are done at the hackerspace, and Justin's getting ready to cut some more holes in a lid like these ones he's just made with 6 and 12 holes. Can feel quite a breeze from that. As you can see, it's pretty quick and easy. And it's finished. See how easy that was.
Grab a basket or two.
Oh yeah. And we kind of just messed with the attachment to fit baskets. Perfect. So my plan here is to use these wall-mounted brackets for these lawn lights. They come with stakes and brackets. And I'm planning to use 6 of the lights on each shelf, and I'm going to mount them in an alternating pattern. So 2 here, 2 here, and 2 here. And it will cover 2 tubs full of vegetation. I'm going to fasten them with zip ties. Okay, here's my setup now that I've got the lights attached. You can see I used zip ties to put them mounted the wall brackets, and then there was a lot of extra cord between, so I used that also to secure this. Then screwed in the lights, and my next step will be hooking them up to the timer and the power strip. What I've done so far since last time is I've put my air stones. I've got these nice long air stones. These cost like $2.99 each. They're really cheap. In the bottom of the bins, and I've also set up power strip here and a timer for my lights. And as you can see, I have the airstone pump, which is actually really handy. Kind of just sits right here. That's why this rack is perfect for this, because it basically makes a place to tie everything on. I will of course be rinsing out the bins with soap and water before I actually fill them, but for right now I just have them placed there so we can see how it's all going to fit. And my next step is going to be to cover this middle shelf with Mylar, so that, and I will also be covering the sides with a Mylar curtain so that you're not losing any of the lumens from the light. They're all going to bounce off. Okay, so what I'm doing here is we're going to put a sheet of Mylar on each shelf that has plants underneath it, which right now is just this one, and then we're going to make a kind of shower curtain that surrounds it using these Mylar emergency blankets that you can order really cheap on Amazon. So I'd like to point out that we've briefly researched and can't find a ton of things saying online that we shouldn't use these in mildly heated conditions, but we're not sure yet whether this is completely safe, so just a disclaimer. What I'm going to do here is to tie the Mylar on in a way that I can easily remove it or reposition it without ruining it. Is we're using these little reinforcement labels that you can get at any office place or drugstore or anything. And I'm just going to put one on the top of the Mylar and matching one on the bottom. And this Mylar is kind of see-through, so it actually makes it pretty easy to do that. You can see right there. Okay. Then I might need a little bit of scissor help to get the hole started, because the Mylar is actually surprisingly strong. And once I've done that, take our zip tie, just thread it through, and you can tie it to our handy rack. It's not going to be super pretty, but it's going to work. Okay, so our pump setup, I've got this 60-gallon Tetra fin, I think, whisper filter, and I only want to use one of the ports, so I've put a valve and made it a dead end on the other one. And the one we want to use, we've put the standard aquarium tubing, really cheap, and we've zip tied it to our frame to keep it out of the way. And then here, since we're going to eventually have 4 tubs on this unit, I have a splitter, and we've gone ahead and then split the tubing into our bins. And these particular bins, I don't know what brand you use, but these ones just happen to have a hole ready cut that perfectly fits our tubing. Now we're going to see what happens when we put the lid on. We might end up having to drill another hole, but if not, then these will work, and we just have attached the tube to our air stone.
Good.
Okay, what I'm doing here is I'm making the other 3 Mylar sheets that I had into panels, basically Mylar shower curtains, and I'm using more of my hole reinforcers. I'm only really putting 1 on each side. I don't really think you need 2. And the same, just put it on the whole length, making sure you have it on the ends. And then snip a little hole to get make it easier to poke the zip tie through. Okay, as you can see, we've gotten a lot done since the last time we were filming. And I just want to point out here that not everybody might have as convenient a location as we do, but here we have our setup right next to both a drain and hot and cold spigots, so that's really handy, and an outlet. So when you fill the solution every week, you can just dump it down the drain, refill it from the faucet. I've made these shower curtains basically out of Mylar, as you saw me before, putting the little hole protectors, and then I've taken clothesline and zip tied it in one continuous piece around the frame of the rack, and then we've just put it on like a shower curtain, so you can cover it up. And then I've also added these optional little curtain ties to get it out of the way when you want to be in here working. The other thing I have added here is a fan on the top for ventilation. So if we do more plants on the top, we may skip the Mylar on the top, just so we have a ventilated outlet. You could also poke a couple holes in this Mylar to allow some airflow. And we've filled our tubs and put in our air stones. Right now we're kind of working on the problem of getting the lids to fit with the tubs that we have squished in here. It may involve, I don't know what, but our baskets fit nicely in here, and I probably will actually need to add a little more water before the plants go in, because, well, actually as the roots grow down, that's probably the right height, but at first they will not be wet enough. And our pre-drilled holes turned out to work just fine for the air stones. And one thing you might want to be sure is if you have, as we do, the splitter with several valves going to different air stones, Jess had to mess around with getting the balance of air to go to each of the air stones, so it doesn't just go to one.